If fantasy and romance are what you seek, featuring heroines who aren't quite so meek, with book talk and Instagram full of deceit, simply listen to our podcast, Our Picks of the Week.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, Jordan.
We always start awkwardly with this weird, hi, Katie. Hi,
I
Jordan.
know. Well, I think the awkwardness is what created the musical intros to these episodes where I was just staring at you and, the panic erupted in my brain and I'm like, you should just sing.
I am not singing for you today, but we are here for a pick of the week.
I read The Courting of Bristol Keats by Mary Pearson. I saw no advertising for this book. It just appeared on Amazon and I was like, okay, sure. I know Mary Pearson. I read Dance with Thieves. I enjoyed it. Let me read this. And I didn't look on I raw dogged this. I didn't go on Goodreads. I didn't read reviews. Like I just trusted the process. I was like, you know what? The Amazon Goodreads gods have given this to me. I'm just gonna read it. I enjoyed it, but there was definitely moments where I came back out of the book and I'm like, "What the fuck is happening?" And then I went back in and I'm like, "Okay, this is good again." And then it's like, cringe. What is happening in the plot? Like, why? It was super weird. I would never accuse a published author of using AI, but I don't know if there's some kind of ghost writing or something because I've read so Mary. Oh yeah, I already announced the title of this book, but the other book that Mary Pearson wrote was Dance with Thieves, which I super enjoyed. I feel like if I read it again as an older person, I might not enjoy it as much or it reads young, but it was super good. Plotline, there was no cringiness, weirdness. But this one, The Courting of Bristol Keats, there was just it was super good, solid fantasy. I would say that this is romantasy. All of the fantasy was super awesome. The romance was good, but then there was these moments of weird, cringy, middle school, high school awkwardness that I was like, where the fuck did this come from? And then it goes back to being normal. So I don't know what the fuck was going on with this book, honestly.
What's the age of the heroine in this book?
She is, I want to say 20,
Okay,
19,
so
20.
we're in new A land.
Yeah, because there's very explicit sex scenes in this. It's very solidly romantasy. I'll explain the plot and then maybe some of the cringiness will be explained, but it was a la, fourth wing cringiness levels at certain points. But then it would go back to normal. So I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Wasn't Dance of Thieves like a found family, multiple perspective?
I think it might have been multiple perspective. It was a long time when I read this book, but it's fairly more fantasy in the way that books from 2000s, 2010s was a hint of romance, the, you know, forebearer of
Mhm.
romantasy. But it was pretty romance heavy, I'm pretty sure, in Dance of Thieves, but maybe I'm misremembering. I don't know.
Huh.
Yeah, because she goes in as a spy, and then the guy is the head of a fantasy mob family, crime family.
Haven't heard this
He has to
plotline before.
yeah, honestly, every book written ever. But that was that book. So, The Courting of Bristol Keats starts out this girl, she has 2 sisters. She's a middle child, which I thought was kind of fun, but she very much acts like the older sister. They have no fucking money. Their parents died recently, so their mom died a couple of years ago, and then their dad died about a year ago. Super horrific, tragic accident. He got hit by a car, and, they're kind of, devastated and kind of trying to, keep it together for the family, but their parents
This
were
is this is the opening scene of ACOTAR.
Hmm.
Continue, please.
Hmm. Hmm. I don't know what to do with that information because it gets more ACOTAR related
Oh, no.
as I think about it. But yeah, so they don't have any money. They're trying to make rent, whatever. Their family has always been on the run, not carnival people, but a cousin of carnival people maybe, very much travelers, wanderers, would never stay long in one place, and it always seemed to them that their parents were looking over their shoulder, and so they always assumed that they were, on the run from someone or some kind of questionable, criminal activity, whatever. And so they need to find all this money for like some to pay bills, I think. And then Bristol, she gets this letter from like a long lost aunt and she's gotten a couple of them and she's disregarded them. She's like told her other siblings like this is a scam, like just ignore these letters when we get them, yada yada. But they're like kind of like on the brink right now and she gets a letter that's a little bit more directed and it's like I knew your father, like I had a lot of good memories about him. I have this piece of art that like he enjoyed a lot that I would like to give to you. And it was like just enough of like her dad was an artist, like he didn't know his family really well, but like maybe, she wants to make up for lost time, et cetera, et cetera. And so finally, all of these events start happening where she loses her job, her sister loses her job. All of a sudden, she can't go to like work that day, like very suspicious, like pushing her towards having this meeting. And so she goes and she sees all of these like original Da Vinci sketches. And she's like, okay, like I know enough about art history to know that these are like worth millions of dollars, but what the fuck kind of sketchy ass shit is happening right now? And it turns out that like they're human, but they're also like fae. And they're trying to give her these like sketches as like an obligation that she now has to help them with something. And so she's like, well, I need to like support my family. Like, I'll take one of them. And then it turns into an obligation and she's dragged into, the fairyland or whatever. It's a it's a pretty weird plot. What happens then? Yeah.
Okay, remember there was a book that you and I both read, I think, this past year, like an enchantment of raisins? An
Dried grapes.
an enchantment of ravens, where she's like I the title might be wrong, but she's like a painter and she paints for the fairies and stuff, and it's like a whole
Yeah, that was an Enchantment of Ravens.
yeah.
That seems very similar to this a little bit. The vibes of this one are very weird. So, like, what happens after that is, like, there's
The
these bad
raisin
guys.
brownie.
Yeah, honestly, the grapes of wrath. Like,
Sorry.
anything
Apologies.
that happens after this, there's just, like, a bad guy, they're trying to fight him, there's a king, he's kind of a dickhead, they fall in love, etcetera. Uh,
Wait, she falls in love with a dickhead king?
yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
I'm intrigued
It
now.
It's good. There was a lot of moments in the romance where I was, like, eating that shit up, whatever. I would say the vibes are similar to The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, just because, like, all the fae are kinda weird. You have, like, a human going into Faeland, and she kinda has to, like, prove herself a little bit. I would also say A Deal with the Elf King by Elise Kova. Just, like, the vibes, like, she gets brought into a different land, and then, like, she's important and, like, you know what I mean? Not really just, like,
Yeah.
Fae adjacent.
Oh, sounds like Quicksilver too.
A little bit, yeah, that too, and then, the final one, The Selection by Kiera Cass. Did you ever read that?
I can picture the book, like, very vividly in my head. I don't think I read it though.
I think it might have been a little bit young, like, it came out when you're probably, like, exiting that, like,
Mhm.
book genre, but this is almost similar if you, like, take out the competition aspect a little bit. I don't know, but the romance was really good, I liked it, but there was just moments where I was like, "Why did you write that?" Like, it would be, like, very coherent, and then all of a sudden, it's this, like, cringy fourth wing moment. So I don't know if it was, like, Mary Pearson being, like, not as familiar with maybe, like, modern, romantasy, what people are expecting, and so she gave it her best shot, and it's like, "Whoa, that's, like, very cringy, like, you brought me out of the good fantasy that you're writing to, like, this weirdness and then brought me back in."
So do you think maybe she's catering more towards, like, romance-heavy fantasy?
I think so because I do remember that there wasn't a lot of romance in Dance of Thieves, but this is The Courting of Bristol Keats is perfect romantasy 50-50. There's, like, a lot of plot going on, but the romance is, like, a significant aspect of the plot.
That's interesting because there is a do you remember Daughter of the Moon Goddess?
Mhm.
Su Lin Tan? So she did a duology, and that was a very like, it's a romantasy, but it's more heavy on fantasy and world building,
Mm,
and I just picked up she had just wrote a standalone called Immortal.
mm.
I think I mentioned this book to you, but it is way more romance centric and heavy rather than her first, like, entry books, and it makes me wonder, are these authors, like, do they really actually wanna write more romance heavy books, but they have to, like, establish themselves as, like, fantasy world builders first?
I don't know. That seems very I think it's just the I don't know how to use this phrase. The tides are changing, the winds are changing, whatever weird metaphor, whatever. In the publishing land, though, that
Uh-huh.
I think some of these people who would like probably just write traditional fantasy with a dash of romance and like that's what they enjoy and they write well are all of a sudden being asked to write more romantasy or more like romance heavy plot lines. Or maybe they had an editor that just like had a different voice than Mary Pearson. So her recommendations got like added, but it's like
Hmm.
incongruent with, the voice that Mary Pearson uses, because it's very distinct. Like, I was, like, vibing along, then I was like, like, back into my
Weird.
human body. What the fuck is this, like, word doing here?
Huh. What kind of where would you put this heroine in this book? Like, what
I would say the badass, the ice queen, obviously, but I will say the romance has surprisingly, like, emotional intelligence moments behind it where it's a little bit more mature, like, they have, like, discussions about things instead of just, the miscommunication trope and then things fall apart, and then it's like, if you guys just had a 5-minute conversation, that wouldn't happen. I feel like for the most part, they avoid that, so that was kind of refreshing that you have somewhat more adult relationship going on, but she definitely falls in that, like hard ass. I
of
work
course.
hard. Yeah, it was fun though. I got to like 90% and then I was like, okay, I'm getting kind of like irritated by how cringy it's turning a little bit. But the first part was super solid and it's really long. I also didn't realize it's a duology. I think you'd
Oh,
probably be fine with
no.
reading the first one and calling it good. But it's like the first 400 pages are super awesome and then like something cringy happens and you're
It's
like,
more
okay,
than
done.
400 pages long. Are you kidding me?
Dog. That's why I thought it was a standalone. I was like, "This is
Ugh.
really fucking long." But
Nope.
then, like, it got to, like, the 60% and I was like, "They have a lot of plot that they need to, like,
Wrap
wrap
up.
up here real soon." Yeah. So it
Okay.
wasn't bad. It was interesting. I would
Give it a
recommend it if
shot.
because the romance was really good. I will say there was cringy moments towards the end, but up to that point, fucking A plus. The arc of it was excellent. They have these like one of the romance points that I don't think I can do justice, and it'll sound kind of weird, but when you're reading it, you're like, God, this is so good. They have, like, obviously, like, the nightly revels or whatever, and she goes, but she kinda hangs out in one of the, like, secluded forests and just, like, she feels uncomfortable with all of the fae that are, like, staring at her because they seem to think they know about her, but she doesn't realize it's, like, her parents were fae. That's how they know. So she feels really uncomfortable with all these, like, expectations, so she's like, "I'm just gonna, like, hang out, like, it's nice. I feel like the trees are talking to me, chilling out." And then she, like, will, like, dance or whatever, and she, like that's the only safe place because the Fae will make you dance for a whole entire night until you die, and she's like, "Well, if I'm alone, it'll be fine." Our love interest is invisible during it, and
What?
so they're dancing together.
What?
Yeah. That's what I mean, it's, like, cringy, but when you're reading it, it's good, but then there's moments where you, like, come out of the cringiness and you're like, "Nah, dog, that's, like, a little
I
bit too much, it's too
I
cringy."
that sounds incredibly, like,
Silly. Yep.
yucky and silly, but
Yep.
also I want to know.
Yep, yep, yep. It does have that, like, fourth wing, it's like, I know this is cringy, but I still cannot stop reading it. It has an aspect of that until it gets to, critical mass, and you're like, "Okay, I've had enough."
I might try it. I'm not
I
gonna
feel like
get
you might like it. I think if you can get past the cringy moments, you'll enjoy it, but I think suffer a little bit more than you do during
That's
these
fair.
books. Yeah. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was weird, a little bit cringy. I don't think I'm gonna finish it, but I enjoyed the, like, 500
The
pages that
journey
I could
until
read.
this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is
Yep.
The Courting of Bristol Keats
Mhm.
by
Mary
Mary
Pearson.
Pearson. All right.
Yeah.
From Katie's shelf to yours.
We'll see you on the next page. Hi, readers. Like what you've been hearing? Check out the Spice Archive at notanotherheroine.com to see all of our reviews and ratings. And if you'd like to support our growing library, find us on Patreon and get access to exclusive bonus content.
If you'd like to just listen, we post new episodes every Monday and Wednesday on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Thanks for listening.